Once every 3 years, we get to have our say. We saunter down to the polling booth and we put in our vote. But we all know that the rest of the time, somebody else is running the show. And we know who it is too. Very large corporations, donors, lobby groups, billionaires who can bend a politician's ear, who have access, Rupert Murdoch. Now, most of this is hidden, and that's why we do FOIs, Freedom of Information Requests. And we try to get politicians' diaries and so forth to get a glimpse into this world, this shadow world, which we like to call Lobbyland. And so it was this week that the most prolific FOI operator in Australian history, our very own Rex Patrick, former senator and submariner, reveals in forensic detail how the foreign-controlled gas giants locked this country in for decades of fossil fuel production, despite the urgent need for energy transition. They were bending the ears, writes Rex, the minute Albo announced his first ministry last year. They were in that door quick, smart. Don't you worry about that. Well, when we say the most prolific purveyor of FOIs, he may not hold the record because that award may go to the intrepid Will Matthews, who's also a contact of Michael West Media, an actuary. While Will was fighting for his FOI request from 2003 to 2012, 800 million people were born into the world. YouTube and Facebook were invented. The Iraq War passed into history, but there was Will, still the actuary from East Brighton in Melbourne, still yet waiting for his Freedom of Information request to be processed. Should be called Freedom from Information. Really? So Homeric was this voyage by a lone campaigner through the remote and hostile seas of bureaucracy that Will was forced not only to battle regulators to get his FOI, but also the world's biggest gold mining company, Newmont, the AAT, Clayton Utz, Macquarie Bank, a mining company called Allstate, their lawyers, their insolvency practitioners, the Office of the Information Commissioner too. Now Rex has had his multi-year epic Odyssean requests in for public information for a straight answer. And for sheer volume, nobody beats Rex and his refusal to take no for an answer. He is truly the transparency warrior and self-described as such. Since the Albanese government came to power, he submitted 280 federal FOIs alone. It's very close to the 297 he submitted to the Morrison government when he was a senator. And he publishes this week the story of which we speak, the exclusive backstory to the behind-the-scenes battle by the gas industry to bend the ear and take advantage of politicians and bureaucrats. We published the link in the description below. It really is a read, this one, not a YouTube video. Such is the detail. But the salient points are that the complaining from foreign-controlled gas multinational companies particularly impacts the Japanese mob and our very own Santos, of course. The ever-present Santos, ever-present behind the scenes, was simply relentless, from breakfasts to assorted meetings, briefing notes, dummy spits in the press, some Japanese bloke from Impex being mollycoddled with an Order of Australia award. Here's a taste, to quote. Impex and Japanese ministers were not alone in their campaign. Santos was engaging the government too. They had their first post-election meeting with government officials on June 2, 2022, the day after Albanese's full ministry was sworn in. And it went from there. Engulfing ministers Madeleine King, Penny Wong, Chris Bowen, on, until finally the government passed a bill, the sea dumping bill, which was just for Santos. A special little pat on the head for Santos, their donor, to get the big and dirty Barossa gas project up. Perhaps the dirtiest in Australian history, which will now endure probably for decades of gas production. To be fair to Labor, at least they have rolled out climate laws and climate procedures and processes, and they're working to facilitate the energy transition. And we recently chronicled this progress in a forensic piece by Tim Buckley, new energy expert, and Blair Palese, climate expert. Excellent piece on the remedies as well as the issues. And there is significant progress being made. Progress which would have been non-existent, of course, if the last mob was still in power, but at the same time impeded every step of the way by the fossil fuel lobby. And that's what we're fighting for. That's why subscribers are paying us to keep an eye on this, to keep the pressure on. But all this really enshrines what democracy has become. All about the money. So when you stroll down to the booth to cast your vote on some Saturday in a year and a half's time, just be aware that it's the one chance that you get, the one and only chance to have your say, because the rest of the time, yes, somebody else is running the show. Thank you very much for your support. Please like, share, or comment below. Throw us a few bucks on Patreon if you can afford it. We're suffering from the cost of living crisis too, so thank you for your support.